Hey folks, and welcome to a new format for the channel. Instead of taking you on a journey through a central idea related to the game I've been playing, this video will explore a few thoughts I had on the game in question. This time around, 2007's Portal. There's still a loose connection between these thoughts, but each chapter does stand on its own. I discuss Portal's pacing, the fleeing mechanic, and how the game makes its later puzzles more difficult. I will be talking as if you've played through Portal, so if you haven't, I highly recommend that you do. It's a revered game for a reason. I'd be interested to hear any of your own thoughts down in the comments, but let's start with mine. I like games that can be beaten in an afternoon. My livestream show was called the Saturday Afternoon Stream. I never put it together, but the idea behind the name was because I used to invite friends over and have them play through short games I found exceptional, like Flower, Journey, and yes, Portal. The first time I played Portal, I finished it in about 5 hours. Playing it through this time, it took about 3. It would have taken 2, but I lost the footage for my first hour of play, so had to replay most of the test chambers again. It's amazing that many of the solutions were still in my head after all this time. I did get stuck a bit in the companion cube level, test chamber 18, and the backrooms, but that's to be expected, right? It's not like I got stuck for 10 to 15 minutes in test chamber 3. On my first time playing, I got stuck for 10 to 15 minutes in test chamber 3. As a refresher, test chamber 3 is the first level after the game gives you the portal gun, the version that fires only blue portals. We have to cross a gap, and a dormant orange portal is on the other side of said gap. Easy peasy. We shoot a blue portal at a wall or the floor, and Bob's your uncle, we're on the other side. What follows afterwards is what stumped me. There's a second gap. Now the solution is bloody obvious in retrospect. We shoot a blue portal across the gap and re-enter the orange portal we've just exited. Simple. The problem lies in that distinction. I can't say for sure what my thought process was at the time, because Portal came out 19 years ago, but I can guess. The portal gun shoots blue portals, and I enter the blue portals. I exit the orange portals. I don't enter the orange portals and exit the blue portals. That would be crazy. I spent so long utterly confused as to what the game wanted from me, when it feels that what the level is trying to teach is this lack of entrance-exit distinction. A portal is a portal. It connects 2 points. Travel between them at your leisure. This memory is so vivid not only due to not understanding this concept, but because I had to nudge at least one friend in the right direction, as they were as stumped as I was. It's no wonder that the timing needed to get through test chambers 17 and 18 gave me trouble when I got hung up on what way I could enter a portal. But there are a lot of test chambers between 3 and 17. 14 in fact. The game teaches momentum, activating panels with energy orbs, and more. Then, after test chamber 19, the player breaks out of the sterile testing area and has to use everything they've learned in the dingy backrooms. More than fighting GLaDOS itself, it feels like the true test of a player's skill is learning how to travel with portals when there isn't an obvious surface on which to shoot them. That the game can go 19 test chambers, what feels like a lengthy backroom segment, a boss fight, and then end with a delightful song, all in the space of a few hours, is why I still think of Portal fondly to this day. The game is novel enough to capture a player's imagination with its premise, but no aspect of it, from the puzzles to the writing, outstays its welcome. The sequel should have learned this lesson. Because I wanted to learn if there was any developer insight as to why I got stuck in Test Chamber 3, I played through the developer commentary for the first time. As we play through the game, there are nodes that will have people from the team talk about the design of levels, art, voice acting, or anything else that is of interest. It turns out that yes, Test Chamber 3 was created to teach the player that they can enter and exit the same side of a portal. I don't feel like such a dum-dum after hearing that. If the level was created to teach the issue I had trouble understanding, then even though it took a long time, it did its job. Listening to the rest of the developer commentary made me think of how much of what we consider good game design is taken for granted because of how invisible it feels when it's done right. To further explore this idea, I want to talk about flinging. The momentum puzzles are my favorite part of Portal. You shoot a portal on a high surface, jump off a ledge into a portal at the bottom, and you're flung out, hopefully over the obstacle in your way. Sometimes you need to build even greater momentum by shooting a new portal right before you hit the ground. At the end of Test Chamber 18, you're using the flinging mechanic to shoot ever higher from raised platform to raised platform. As GLaDOS says in the test chamber that explains how to fling, this technique is meant to demonstrate how portals affect momentum, or more importantly, how they do not. In the developer commentary, I found out that every flinging puzzle was visually signaled by a checkerboard pattern on the floor. I don't know if the pattern is where the devs want us to place the portal, or if it's just to say it's time to fling, but I never had consciously noticed this checkerboard pattern before. Looking around at my surroundings and the obstacle in my path was enough. Or maybe my subconscious noticed it, or maybe it was a combination. But I find it fascinating that such an indicator was completely hidden from my view until I was told about it. It made me think about yellow paint. I've never understood the vitriol that the internet has when talking about yellow paint. Maybe that's because even in games that use it to indicate the way forward, I can still get lost. I'm appreciative of any game design trick to point me in the right direction. After hearing about the checkerboard pattern to signify flinging in Portal though, I'm thinking about yellow paint a little differently. I agree that it's an inelegant solution to the problem it's trying to solve. When you think about Portal's art design, everything's cohesive and works towards communicating information to the player, even the backrooms. I want to say that more thought needs to be put into the games that use yellow paint if there is a more in-universe way to signal to the player what's interactable. But then again, Portal is a small game set in very small rooms compared to the open worlds and expansive areas of the modern titles using the paint trick. Another benefit of being a shorter game with a smaller scope. I've said in other videos that my favorite puzzle games allow me to play around with the mechanics when looking for a solution. The game having something for me to do while my brain mulls over the problem in front of me. Portal excels at this. The act of shooting portals on surfaces and moving through them is satisfying. It's great hearing GLaDOS get increasingly exasperated for every camera the player knocks down. It's fun to run an infinite portal loop, even if it's easy these days to see the hitch when the portal instance is reset. The player can plop through the floor, the ceiling, play with momentum, and generally just experience a lot of fun with what Portal offers the player in terms of interactivity. It makes it easier to work out what the game wants from me when I'm able to warp around the test chamber as I work out how to make my way through it. Which is one reason I found test chambers 17 and 18 so tricky. I don't know if difficult puzzles necessarily need to be restrictive, but the main way Portal restricts the options of the player is to limit the surfaces that they can shoot portals on. With less options for play, I had to interact with what little was available. This led to multiple instances of an exasperated, "What do you want from me?" But an additional part of that exasperation in both of these test chambers is having to solve parts of the puzzle under specific timing constraints. The punishment for failure is to either have to wait a while to try again, or in the worst case scenario, resetting the room so that you can do it properly this time around. And yet, the restrictive surfaces didn't annoy me in the back rooms. It might be the change of scenery, the narrative of escape, or just how clever many of the solutions actually are. I love the idea of jumping through the ceiling of one area and coming out the floor somewhere else. I love the large open room where we have to systematically disable all the turrets before flinging ourselves to the top. I'm not a fan of the missile launchers because it took me far too long to realize I could use portals to send missiles a few rooms away. But I accept it because it's training for how to beat GLaDOS. I just wish I was better at aiming the missiles through portals so they travel where I want them to. And those were my thoughts on Portal. Overall, I think it's a fantastic game that holds up remarkably well. Next up, I'll be covering my thoughts on Portal 2. I actually only beat it for the first time for the upcoming video, so that might give you a window into how I regard it. I hope you'll stick around for that. If you enjoyed the video, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and leave a comment to let me know what you thought of my thoughts, and the new format in general. I also have a Patreon if you want to check that out. Until next time, I hope you're all doing well, are enjoying your gaming, and are having a wonderful day.